Three adults stormed a school bus, their faces twisted in rage. They screamed at the driver, their voices echoing in the confined space, as their threats escalated with every second. They were aggressive, terrifying, and they were sure their show of force would intimidate the driver into submission. They thought they held all the power, but they forgot one crucial detail, a detail embedded in the very architecture of the bus they had illegally boarded. They had no idea that four high-definition cameras were silently, meticulously recording their every word, every gesture, and every crime they committed. This is a story about what happens when a school's ironclad policy, a driver's calm professionalism, and the unblinking eyes of modern technology lead police right to the doorstep of a family that let their anger go too far. To understand how this confrontation boiled over, you first have to understand the man at the center of it all, the bus driver. We'll call him David. For years, David had been a quiet guardian of the community as children. His job, like that of thousands of other school bus drivers, was about much more than just transportation. He was the first school official the kids saw in the morning, and the last one they saw in the afternoon. His role was a delicate balance of authority and care, a blend of chauffeur, counselor, and rule enforcer, all from the driver's seat of a 12-ton vehicle. The responsibilities are immense. Drivers aren't just tasked with navigating traffic safely. They also have to manage student behavior, maintain order, and make sure every child feels safe. They are often the first line of defense against bullying, and the first to notice if a child is having a bad day. It's a job that requires incredible patience, especially when faced with challenging situations from student conflicts to, as we'll see, hostile parents. David had those qualities in spades. He was known as a gentle, soft-spoken man who treated students with respect and expected the same in return. He understood the rules weren't just lines in a handbook. They were the foundation of a safe environment for everyone. This particular school district had invested heavily in that foundation. Recognizing that aggressive behavior was on the rise, they implemented a zero-tolerance policy for threats and intimidation. To back it up, they equipped their bus fleet with a state-of-the-art surveillance system. These weren't the grainy, unreliable cameras of the past. Each bus had 4 HD cameras, placed to cover every angle, inside and out. They recorded crystal-clear video and audio, capturing everything from the driver's seat to the back rows. The district was clear. These recordings were there to protect everyone. They provided an impartial, irrefutable record of events, shielding drivers from false accusations and ensuring misconduct could be handled decisively. David knew the cameras were there, a silent partner on his daily route. He hoped he'd never need them for anything serious, but he was grateful for the security they offered. He had no idea they were about to become the star witnesses in a criminal investigation. It all started with something small, as these things often do. It was a Tuesday afternoon run. On David's route was a middle schooler we'll call Jessica. Jessica had a history of testing boundaries. She was often loud, disruptive, and seemed to enjoy goading other students. On this day, her target was a younger student. Jessica started with taunts, and when that didn't work, she escalated to throwing crumpled pieces of paper. David saw it all in his rearview mirror. Following protocol, he pulled the bus over safely. He didn't shout or lose his temper. In a calm, firm voice, he told Jessica to stop and reminded her of the rules: no bullying, no throwing things. His tone wasn't accusatory. It was simply a clear instruction. The school district's policy is clear: address the behavior and report it. The driver's job isn't to be a judge or jury, but to maintain safety and document incidents for the school to handle. Jessica, however, wasn't used to being corrected. She shot back with defiance, denying everything and accusing David of picking on her. She got louder, turning a simple correction into a public spectacle. David didn't take the bait. He simply stated that her behavior was unacceptable and that it would be reported, as was standard procedure. He then calmly resumed his route. When his shift was over, David did exactly what he was trained to do. He filled out a detailed disciplinary report about the incident, noting that it was all captured on camera. He submitted it to the assistant principal, a man we'll call Mr. Evans, and trusted the system to work. He had done his part, calmly and professionally. Now it was in the hands of the administration. He didn't know that this routine report was the spark that would ignite a firestorm. Because when Jessica got home, she told her family a very different version of the story, a version where she was the victim. And her family, it turned out, wasn't interested in hearing both sides. The next morning, Mr. Evans, the assistant principal, read David's report. He was a veteran administrator who trusted David's long, unblemished record. But procedure was procedure. He called Jessica to his office and asked for her side of the story. Predictably, Jessica claimed the driver had yelled at her for no reason and embarrassed her. She denied everything. Mr. Evans listened patiently. He knew there were two sides to every story, but in this case, he had a tiebreaker: the video evidence. School policy dictated that in cases like this, the camera footage was the final arbiter. He told Jessica he would be reviewing the tape. At the mention of the cameras, Jessica's defiant attitude faltered for just a moment. A flicker of panic crossed her face before she shut it down. Before Mr. Evans could even pull the footage, the front office buzzed him. Jessica's mother was on the phone, and she was furious. She didn't want a discussion. She wanted action. She launched into a tirade, accusing the bus driver of tormenting her daughter and demanding that David be fired immediately. Mr. Evans stayed calm, explaining he was investigating the incident, which included reviewing the video. The mother scoffed. "My daughter doesn't lie," she snapped. "You need to handle your employee or we will." The call ended with a sharp click. This was a major red flag. Mr. Evans could tell the difference between a concerned parent and an aggressive one. The mother's refusal to even consider another side of the story, coupled with her threats, put him on high alert. He immediately pulled the digital video file from David's bus. The files were encrypted and time-stamped, making them legally admissible if needed. As he watched the recording, the truth became undeniable. The HD camera captured the whole scene perfectly. The audio was crisp. The footage showed Jessica clear as day, taunting the other student and throwing paper. And it recorded David's response. His voice was calm and measured, never once rising to a yell. It also recorded Jessica's loud, defiant outburst. The evidence was irrefutable. It completely backed up the bus driver and exposed Jessica's story as a fabrication. Mr. Evans saved the file and called Jessica's mother back to inform her of his findings. He explained that the video directly contradicted her daughter's account. The mother became even more enraged, accusing the school of protecting a bully and suggesting the video was faked. "You haven't heard the last of this," she screamed before hanging up again. An uneasy feeling settled over Mr. Evans. This was escalating. He made two calls. The first was to David, letting him know what was happening and reassuring him that the school had his back. The second was to the school resource officer, giving him a heads up. The storm was gathering, and Mr. Evans just hoped it wouldn't break directly over David's bus route that afternoon. That afternoon, David felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach. He followed his route as usual, the bus slowly emptying. Jessica was quiet, sullenly staring out the window. As David approached her stop, he saw them. Waiting on the corner were three adults: Jessica's mother, her father, and another man who looked to be an older brother or uncle. Their posture was aggressive, their faces grim. David's heart rate quickened, but his training took over. School bus drivers are taught that under no circumstances should they allow an unauthorized adult onto the bus, especially with students on board. It's a massive safety violation and a potential crime in many states. He pulled to the curb and opened the door just enough for Jessica to get out. But before she could, her mother lunged forward, blocking the doorway. "We need to talk to you," she snarled. David replied calmly, "Ma'am, I can't speak with you right now. I have other students on the bus. "You'll need to contact the school." His professional response only fueled their rage. The father stepped up. "We're not going anywhere until you answer for what you did," he said, his voice low and menacing. Then things escalated. The father and the other man forced the door open and stepped onto the bus. The mother followed, getting right in David's face as he sat buckled in. She was screaming now, unleashing a stream of profanity and threats. She threatened his job, threatened him with physical harm, and at one point, chillingly said, "I know where you live." The father and brother stood behind her, a wall of intimidation. A few remaining elementary school kids, trapped in the back, started to cry. Through it all, David remained remarkably composed. He didn't engage or argue. He just kept repeating, "You are not authorized to be on this bus. You are trespassing. You need to leave immediately." He knew arguing would only make it worse. He also knew something the three furious adults had completely forgotten: the four silent witnesses capturing every single moment. The camera right above him recorded a perfect, high-definition close-up of the mother screaming her threats. Another camera captured the two men illegally boarding and standing over him. A third recorded the terrified children, and a fourth, on the exterior, had already captured their vehicle and their approach. They were handing the police a multi-angle confession, and they didn't even know it. After what felt like an eternity, the family stormed off the bus, shouting one last threat as they left. The second they were off the bus, David S. training kicked in. He immediately closed and locked the door. His first priority was the kids. Looking at their tear-streaked faces in the mirror, he spoke over the intercom in a reassuring voice. "It's okay, everyone. We're safe now." He didn't move the bus. Protocol for an incident this severe and unauthorized boarding with direct threats was clear. The bus was now a crime scene. He radioed dispatch, reported that 3 adults had illegally boarded his bus and threatened him, and gave his location. The dispatcher immediately relayed the information to Mr. Evans and the school resource officer. Within minutes, Mr. Evans and a police cruiser arrived. After ensuring the remaining children were safe and on their way home, the officer took David's statement. Mr. Evans then looked at the officer and said, "We have it all on video, 4 angles with audio." And that's when everything changed. It was no longer just David S. word against theirs. It was their word against a high-definition, time-stamped, irrefutable digital record. Back at the school, Mr. Evans downloaded the footage. The video was chillingly clear. The quality was so high they could see the rage on the mother's face as she screamed. They could hear every single profane threat. They watched, frame by frame, as the two men unlawfully entered the bus, their body, language radiating pure menace. Crucially, it also captured David's professional response, repeatedly and calmly asking them to leave. The officer watching the footage just shook his head. "This is open and shut," he said. "Illegally boarding a school bus to threaten a driver is a serious offense. In many jurisdictions, laws carry enhanced penalties for assaulting or threatening a bus driver, recognizing the vulnerable position they're in. The family hadn't just lost their tempers, they had committed several crimes. The officer took a copy of the video as evidence. The unseen witness had done its job perfectly. With the video evidence secured, the police investigation moved remarkably fast. There was no need for lengthy detective work. The family had identified themselves, confessed to their crimes, and provided all the evidence on tape. Police were able to identify the 3 from school records and the bus's exterior camera. They also discovered something critical. The father was already on probation for a previous assault charge. This meant his involvement wasn't just a new offense, it was a direct violation of his probation. It didn't take long for police to arrive at the family's home. The father answered the door, his defiant attitude gone, replaced by shock as he was placed under arrest. When the mother and brother began to protest aggressively, they were promptly arrested as well. They were charged with multiple offenses, including trespassing on a school bus and intimidation of a school employee. At the station, their sense of entitlement was still on full display. They insisted the driver provoked them, and their actions were justified. But that narrative crumbled when detectives played the bus camera footage for them. The mother watched in stony silence as her own screaming face filled the screen. The father saw himself loom menacingly over the driver. Their bravado evaporated, replaced by the grim realization that they had been caught completely and utterly by their own actions. The case against them was overwhelming. The video dismantled every claim they had. Faced with undeniable proof, they all eventually accepted plea bargains. The mother pleaded guilty to trespassing and intimidation and received a short jail sentence, a year of probation, and mandatory anger management classes. The brother pleaded guilty to lesser charges and also got probation and a brief time in jail. The father faced the most severe consequences. His new convictions triggered a revocation of his previous probation. A judge, angered by his blatant disregard for the law, sent him back to jail to serve out his original sentence, with additional time tacked on for the bus incident. The judge's message was clear. Threatening school employees is an attack on the community itself and won't be tolerated. The resolution sent a powerful message. For the district's bus drivers, it was a moment of profound vindication. They saw that the systems designed to protect them actually worked. David eventually returned to his route, greeted by supportive parents and grateful school officials. The family, facing legal restrictions, withdrew Jessica from the district. The whole explosive ordeal, born from a small act of defiance, had culminated in jail time and public humiliation, all because they forgot about the four silent, high-definition witnesses that captured every second of their undoing.